An online study was conducted to understand the industry outlook towards ONDC in terms of the level of awareness and understanding of ONDC amongst practitioners and experts in the digital commerce space, its potential benefits and challenges, and its impact on the future of digital commerce. There were 175 plus respondents across the industry who have given their valuable feedback and perspectives, which will be shared with you today by some of our respondents who will be a part of the panel discussion. I would first like to invite Monica Kuran on the stage to help us demystify the survey insights alongside our experts. Joining us now are Atik Khazi, President of Data Performance and Digital Products Group M India, Girish Ramachandra, co-founder and CEO Shopalist, Neeraj Pratap Sanghani, CEO Hansa Security, Sanjay Mehta, joint CEO Miram Digital Private Limited, and of course we have Monica on the stage who will be moderating the segment. Requesting our panelists to kindly take the stage. Let's welcome our final set of panelists on the stage with a huge round of applause, everyone. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Nisha. So good evening, gentlemen, and good evening. This is our last session, but it is a session you sure want to be captively engaged. We're talking about ONDC. All of us are learning about the open network digital commerce, and at MMA, we have taken the charge of evangelizing the narrative effective 2023. For some of you who would have attended our Decoding ONDC bespoke event in the month of February, would have heard a lot about how ONDC is evolving and how use cases are emerging. As a next level to that particular initiative, we conducted an extensive study on understanding the challenges and opportunities associated with ONDC, and to learn and to understand the level of awareness which currently exists within the industry. I'm going to quickly call out a few top lines, and then we're going to break open into a discussion about it. So, some of the top lines, and of course, you will get a QR code on the screen, and you can download a copy of the survey to really go deeper and read more about it. I will just touch upon a few of them. So in the survey, it was discovered that 90% of respondents are likely to adopt ONDC in some form or the other. 73% of the respondents believe that ONDC could help level the playing field for small and medium-sized businesses, which is pretty true. ONDC is likely to transform digital commerce through market expansion, interoperability, and unbundling. A majority of respondents, about 51%, believe that their company is very likely to adopt ONDC. And 54% believe that consumers would benefit from the implementation of ONDC by having access to a wider range of products and services, which is absolutely logical, and the survey pretty much validates a lot of these points which we already probably believe are the reason why ONDC is being discussed and explored in terms of adoption, right? And remember, this was a survey which was taken by 175 respondents, so that's a pretty decent number. So we believe that there is some merit in, really learning more about what we've discovered through the survey, and ask some of our respondents who are absolute experts and have far more understanding in the space than a lot of us here. Okay, so on that note, Atik, I'm going to start with you. Okay, in the survey, about 30% of the respondents believe that ONDC can expand market access and customer reach in the digital commerce ecosystem. What do you think, is that a possibility, and how do you think Group M, which is already taking the lead in educating the market about ONDC, what do you think is the potential?
Firstly, I expected that number to be much higher, not just 30%, right? And I think the market expansion and kind of really opening up things is the vital promise of ONDC. The way I look at it is there are two outcomes that ONDC will eventually deliver. One is that obviously it will, as you all know, that it will democratize and unbundle the entire digital commerce ecosystem.
Yes.
And more importantly, it will also improve the economics of doing digital commerce businesses.
Right.
Right? I think that's very key to me. And more importantly, what it will also do is that it will include a lot of sellers and a variety of sellers from different backgrounds, from different categories as such, which will have more access to more consumers, lower platform fees, the ability to choose logistic partners. So in essence, all of this will lead to a benefit that needs to be crossed back to the consumer, right? And that's essentially the success of ONDC to me. Because if the consumer preference shifts on transacting on ONDC-enabled platforms, I mean, that's where we'll see magic coming through, right? And that would essentially lead to the expansion and the customer reach that you kind of really spoke about. Linking back to the second topic that you said, that what is GroupM doing in this space?
Yes.
Again, early days, okay? But for GroupM, the key priority is commerce, right? And that's where the entire digital commerce, and that's where the market is kind of really moving. I mean, just to give you some sense, like, you know, in the last 11 months, we have onboarded 34 new clients on our e-com services. And they range from, like, you know, being from the screen to the door. Right? And ONDC is a part of our strategy, right? I mean, it goes into the area of how do we strategize for our clients, their e-com strategy, and how ONDC plays an important role in now being the early adopter, what is the potential of it, what could be the use cases. So that goes in the whole strategy thinking for clients. And then coming back to two specific services that we kind of really focus on ONDC at this point of time is to work with partners, some of them are in the stage, to kind of really help clients technically connect to the network by that 8-point integration. And on the other hand, we are also working with cataloging and content, which can then be seamlessly integrated to the buyer apps.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Those are interesting insights. I'm going to go to someone who is a lot more deeply engaged in the ecosystem. And Girish, I'm going to pull you in here. The survey indicates that the potential impact on existing business processes and systems is an important factor in the decision to adopt ONDC, right? And from a technological standpoint, what do you think could be the challenges businesses could face, and how should they be handled?
Yeah, like in any new change, technology or otherwise, the ability to kind of, operate with business continuity is an important element that makes it or breaks it. Yeah? So with ONDC, the fact that it democratizes commerce to businesses of all sizes, you could look at big brands that are already, doing e-commerce on their own, wanting to join the network, versus smaller sellers who only do offline businesses. Some of them could be your corner kirana store. Now, the barrier of technology could be different for different sizes and scale of these stakeholders, but it is nonetheless a very important element. What we have seen in the last 1 year of ONDC, right? We have worked with a number of brands, more than 20 of them that joined the network, working with Shoplist and the capabilities that we have built.
Yeah.
The thing that commonly cuts across is, how can I run my current e-commerce business by just adding ONDC as a new channel? I don't have to babysit that as an extra element. That's the number one question that most of them really want to answer. And I think that will be the answer that will make this network scale very finely, very easily. And we also work with some of the smaller players, as part of the initial adoption program. We work with smaller kirana players who literally don't do any online business. And what their ask is, just the way I'm able to use, UPI, you just using a QR code, now I'm able to accept digital payments. How can I make it so easy, equally easy for me to accept digital orders?
Right.
That's their ask, right? And so again, technology plays a very important role. Still lots to do, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. Like even a kirana store can be out there. Now we have a MarTech perspective we can bring in, and a research perspective we can bring in. So Sanjay, let me come to you. With your lineage and your experience, yeah, how can the implementation of ONDC enable D2C brands to improve their unit economics, right? considering that the survey results do highlight factors such as improving efficiency and reducing cost as key areas for them to join the platform.
Yeah. So, there are multiple factors which will enable them to improve their fundamental economics as a brand or as a company, as a business.
Yeah.
First of all, like Girish mentioned, it's not just for large brands, but equally for smaller businesses. So smaller businesses which are currently accessing a very small market, around their location, suddenly get access to a much larger market by just plugging their business into the ONDC network. So there is economics in terms of the scale that they can achieve, much larger than what footfalls they can attract in terms of a location. As a consequence of that, of course, they are able to then get better purchase economics and improve their cost. I mean, basically improve their margins. Secondly, by plugging into the digital infrastructure that ONDC offers or will continue to offer, there is a certain standardization of, let's say, cataloging and other digital processes which they don't need to spend on, they don't need to create on their own. They are utilizing the ones which are already available.
Yeah.
Thirdly, there is an increased visibility. I mean, today, imagine a small business.
Yeah.
I mean, the only visibility is, whatever people who are walking around. And now you get discovered on the platform, and which reduces your, it basically enhances your marketing, for a brand, and you are getting discovered by customers who would have never known you otherwise.
Yeah.
So all of these, factors and more enable them to improve margins and increase their, unit economics, etc. As a result.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty practical way to look at it. Neeraj, I'm going to come to you. Considering your expertise in understanding consumers and, seeking out the right insights, right? So the role of valuable consumer insights and data was mentioned in the survey, right? So how can analytics and marketing technology companies utilize ONDC to enhance their data-driven decision-making and create more personalized experiences for their customers?
Certainly. Monica, I've been here for the last 3-4 hours. Everybody's talking about data-driven marketing. I've been practicing it now for 15 years. But I would like to rephrase this in the context of the country.
Yeah.
And if you look at what this project is supposed to do, and actually we have to go to the heartland. And इसके वजह से मैं कहूँगा कि दूरदृष्टि, अंतर्दृष्टि और विशाल दृष्टि.
Okay.
So long-term view, depth of what we are trying to accomplish, and the width of what this whole project is trying to accomplish. And this is not something which has just come up in 2020. This has been the vision for a very long time. It is work in progress.
Okay.
It is now fructifying. And it again goes back to what Girish again mentioned was, yes, you have 45 million MSMEs in the country. Yes, you have 12 million Kirana stores out in the country.
Right.
How are you going to give them a platform? How are you going to ensure there is no concentration of commercial interests happening?
Right.
And this is a fantastic initiative in that direction. Having said that, what it does for marketers, I think that is where there is a possibility of a lot of people missing a trick here. We get too narrow focused from a use case perspective, immediate KPI perspective, outcome perspective. I think we need to have a broader vision. It needs a catalyst. It will come at some point of time, which will really catapult this initiative into a big way. But if you're looking from a marketing and usage of data, I think enough has been spoken today about how to use data in a marketing context. But what this does is it gives you a lot more relevant data, right? You exactly know what people are looking for, which are the brands they are going to go after, which are the areas.
Right.
And how do you build on that? What are the catalogs, as everybody kind of spoke of? How do you drive the UI UX experience? I think that's going to be critical. Not many people are talking about it, but how are you going to be very discoverable in that space? How are you going to really, and data and analytics is going to drive all of that.
Correct.
I think it's a fast evolving space, but we will notice the change after some time, and some brands will be ahead of the curve, and I suspect most brands will not know how to use it.
Very pragmatic. Yet another very pragmatic point of view. I think what you're trying to say is you've got to be in it for the long haul, and you've got to sort of, try different things to see what works for you, and not expect immediate results, right? So I think that makes sense. Atik, I'm going to circle back to you. Yeah. So in the survey, a majority of respondents believe ONDC can provide access to valuable consumer insights and data. So how do you think that kind of data can help with retention and marketing efforts, whilst you're trying to grow the pie in the space?
Yeah, again, a linked question to what he answered,
Right.
but just going a bit deeper into what we are seeing data come through, right?
Yes,
From some of the
yes.
experiences that some of the brands have had being on ONDC, both on the seller side and people on the buyer apps. What I see is that two sets of data is kind of really important that's coming through from the network, which is accessible. One is the search data, right? And it has its own benefits as to how you kind of really get inciting around it, which is multi-purpose, right? And it's quite similar to the search data, like, that we have available on some of the buy-side platforms, and also all the APIs that kind of connect through. So something really unique out there, but you definitely get to know what people are searching for, what's the intent out there in the market on the ONDC platform. And the second is that people, when they transact on the ONDC platform, you as a brand now or a marketer have access to first-party data,
Yes.
right? And that's gold, and that's the differentiation then being on closed network groups or some of those leading marketplaces where you don't get access to this data.
Right.
Now, eventually, with the cookie deprecation, with the surge of, the rush to kind of really get first-party data, it definitely complements that. Having said that, if you are looking for deeper category insights and what's happening on a cross-pollination basis, I think the buyer apps would continue to kind of hold that information, okay?
Okay.
And how you build connections with those buyer apps will continue to prevail. I would say.
Yeah, makes sense. I think there's a lot of rich input here, and we couldn't have had better points of views coming out of this. I just have a couple of more questions before we wrap up. Girish, I'm going to come back to you. The lack of awareness and education among businesses and consumers has emerged as a significant concern in terms of why ONDC hasn't been embraced at a scale and level it can be. So how do you think that gap can be bridged?
Sure. No, I think the important point that one has to realize is ONDC is not a replacement for marketplace commerce that an Amazon or a Flipkart runs. And fortunately or unfortunately, no, it is often compared with that. The reality, however, is ONDC is something that it's like digital public infrastructure for commerce. It's like, a telephone line or electricity line coming to your office or coming to your home that can activate a number of different applications. It's exactly similar to that, right? So when you look at ONDC through the lens of infrastructure, you can start realizing that there are many different ways in which it can be monetized by sellers, by buyers, buyer apps, and other players in the ecosystem. Today, the lack of awareness is partly because I think there has to be better awareness building that has to happen from the ONDC team, perhaps in terms of telling the right use cases that are possible, that are possibly seemingly visionary today, but they need to be told nonetheless. Number one. Second is the general media coverage around ONDC is often more about how it is cheaper to buy food on ONDC compared to a Swiggy or a Zomato. So that kind of reinforces the comparison with existing platforms, which is unfortunate because ONDC, for the record, is probably the most democratic approach to internet commerce today. And it has never been done anywhere in the world ever. So to that end, the success of ONDC in India could perhaps get replicated worldwide soon enough. Yeah. So I think the stories have to be told the right way. And in particular to the audience here, right, brands need to look beyond the traditional template of commerce when they look at ONDC. If you really look at ONDC, there are other tailwinds that it benefits from. So if you look at UPI, which digitized payments in India, that has built a large opportunity where merchants can get credit based on their UPI transactions. Similarly, consumers like you and me can now get access to credit based on our UPI transactions. CIBIL score is not the only way. Your data can be your passport to credit. What that means is a huge market expansion opportunity, right? When consumers get access to credit, let's say buy now, pay later, premiumization is a natural outcome, right? I will buy a Samsung phone instead of an Oppo, right? I'll buy a higher end beauty product compared to something that I traditionally buy. So for a brand that looks at ONDC, I'm really thinking that you should be looking at this as a 15x, 20x market expansion opportunity, right? So with that big market in mind, the education that we need to have in terms of marketeers is ONDC in itself can also be a fantastic way to kind of, disintermediate the value chain that exists today in terms of how brands communicate and how brands transact in the ecosystem. So those will be really, wonderful ways that are new to the world, potentially can disrupt some existing ways, but all in all is expected to be a better place than, where it is. That's the beauty of tech, right?
Wow. Those are some data points,
If I
and
may
that clearly
add to
shows.
this, answer on to the same question.
Yes.
I mean, I think ONDC is, first of all, to use his words, it's a long-term play. Yes. It's not something which is just something which has got to, come up quickly. It's not a campaign. It
Right.
needs to happen quickly and get done with. So, and it's, it involves multiple participants.
Right.
It involves merchants and logistics providers and payment gateways and fintech and the consumer across the country. And, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And it's all happening. It's like a beating heart surgery while it's going on. The platform is coming up and it's fixing its glitches, and at the same time it needs to grow. But once it's as a platform, as an operation, it's stable. They need to do a lot of things.
Sure.
There's got to be a lot of outreach programs to begin with. There's got to be engagement with a lot of industry organizations. There's got to be engagement with SME organizations, letting them know the benefits. It's not just that one-off media story about, potatoes coming cheaper or something. That's not adequate. There's got to be a story from people who are already working on it and how they have found success. So it's kind of a huge creation of something new, and it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think there's just a lot of merit in the overall program, and so it will get there. I think we're getting a little impatient in today's world that why is it not growing fast enough? But I think it'll get there. It's going to need some more time.
True, very true. So I guess what you're alluding to is that we need to wait for more use cases to emerge, more categories to join the bandwagon, to really start seeing the true potential of it. And with that, I'm going to close with one last question. Neeraj, that's for you. We actually had one very interesting data point, which said that, 54% of the respondents believe that consumers would benefit from a very, very wide range of products and services through the ONDC platform, because we spoke about how the number of SMEs and, Kirana stores can be a part of that particular ecosystem, and of course many others who haven't explored the space at all. So consumers will have the benefit of a wider range of products. So how do you think D2C brands can leverage that opportunity of being able to offer a much wider range of products to their customers and in the process enhance their buying experience?
I think, we need to understand that this is not one more closed walled ecosystem.
Yeah.
This is as open as it can ever be, right? So this is everybody mentioned the word democratization of data, democratization of options, choices, opportunities, and all of that. Surely it does that. But more importantly,
Yes.
what it does in tomorrow's context is it puts the power into the hands of the consumer.
Correct.
Today, there are 3, 4, 5 brands which are trying to control what you see, what you buy, for how much you buy.
Correct.
And this will slowly start chipping away at that. And as I keep repeating, it will take some time. But that is the biggest change that will happen. More choice, more power in the hand of the consumer. What it does, and look at it from an opportunity for the brands.
Yeah.
Better quality data. If you are sharp on the ball, you'll serve out better campaigns, you'll make more money. So I think all around, it is going to really catapult the business ecosystem. Especially it gives a huge platform to the unrepresented or the people who really are not visible to us, but are really creating great products and don't have a marketplace. They become very discoverable very soon.
True. True. So I think those were very, very valid inputs. And I think we really managed to capture the essence of this particular survey quite thoroughly. I completely appreciate your time and your valuable insights. What I do want to tell everybody out there that this doesn't end with just us decoding the survey. On 30th of June in Delhi, we're going to be unveiling a full-fledged ONDC playbook, which will have answers to a lot of what our panelists spoke about here, and which will have contributions from a lot of experts. So do ensure you catch that, and I hope you have a lovely evening here. Thank you so much.